Hello, everyone. Now that summer is gone and the winter has arrived, the solar project is on hold for right now as far as doing any more work outside. I was able to get a pair of panels up. I still have to recenter the 4-panel set, but that's all going to have to wait till spring. That said, the next project for me is going to be 3D printing. Now, the reason I decided to get into this, while there are a lot of cool things you can make with 3D printing, the actuators that I've got are set up in such a way that they're okay for a splash, but they're not okay for constant water. And if I reverse them so that they're pushing against the deck as opposed to pushing against the panels, so that the motor is up by the panel, that will mean that it's never going to be in snow. But I want to make sure that everything stays protected anyway. In order to do that, I'm going to have to make a shield to go on that little piece of shaft at the top, or what would normally be the bottom, where the motor is, and cover the motor. Now, it's not going to have to be much. I might put a top on it so that it seals everything in. The only problem I've got with that is I'm not sure how warm the motor is going to get. I don't have any experience with it yet. However, when you think about what I'm going to be doing, it's going to be such a small movement from one season to the next, or from 1 month to the next, or from 1 week to the next, that the motor's really not going to be running that long. So it's probably not going to be an issue as far as heat is concerned, as long as I give it a buffer zone around it so that the piece that I put on it isn't tight against the motor. In addition to that, I'm using a white material so that it will reflect light, so it won't have to worry about things like the sun heating it up on a hot day. Even though it's behind the panels, that black could add some heating to that, and then the motors would be a little warmer when I go out to work on them. So we'll see how that all works. In theory, it should get through the winter without any trouble. I do not have the actuators up except for one, and I'm going to take that one down because I'm not going to be using it for the winter. But this will give me a way to encompass them with a part that I can't get, right? That's the big thing about 3D printing, is while there are things that you can make that you could purchase, there are also things that you can make that you just can't get. And there's a couple of projects that I've got about anchoring some cabling together and things that there's nothing that I've been able to find that matches what I want. So I'll be using this. On a different topic, though, another project that I'm working on is a website called howtoaid.net. Now, the reason I'm working on this project is I'm concerned as a U.S. citizen that there is elements of the incoming government that are very isolationist. I don't think that we should retreat from the world stage. I don't think that we should turn our attention from areas in conflict. But that seems to be where we're going to go. So we're going to have to step up, and we're going to have to help out where we can. So howtoaid.net's purpose is to give you just links to where you can help. Now, I'm getting no money from it. I have no affiliation with these sites. I'm just trying to vet the sites to make sure that they're good. You can always do your own research on them as well. But for example, they're going to be broken down into sections. So there will be a section for the Congo, the Sudan, Gaza, and Ukraine, all of which are suffering massively at the hands of very violent people. So medical and food and water and even warm clothing, depending on where they are and what's going to happen now that it's winter in the northern part of the world, could help out. So, for example, in the general section, you'll find links to things like Amnesty International, Doctors Without Borders, World Food Program, WFP, Save the Children, of course, and one you might not be familiar with. It's called OUR Rescue. Operation Underground Railroad deals with trying to shut down human traffickers. If they keep this isolationist program going and do who knows what with the borders of the United States, it's probably going to lead to greater exploitation. If we don't have a path of easy citizenship, and I'm not saying that we're going to have people just come across the border. I'm talking about having enough resources that we can vet people and bring people in who should be in. I mean, that's why we have the Statue of Liberty, after all, is because that's who we are. But if we don't pay attention, if we just lock ourselves away, the world will move on without us. And there are certain things that will happen, such as exploitation will happen even more. So that's what Operation Underground Railroad is for. There'll be other pages that are specific to an area. So if you're just interested in Ukraine, or you're just interested in Gaza or the Sudan or Congo, you'll be able to just go to those pages and make the donations that way. Bear in mind, however, that sometimes, I've seen this happen, they've dropped the specific. So, and it wasn't this group, but let's say Doctors Without Borders had a Ukrainian page, and then they decided to roll that back. So the money's still going to Doctors Without Borders. The money is going to where it's needed most. They just don't have a page that's dedicated to Ukraine that you're putting the money into. So I'm going to try to make sure that they are legitimate groups. OUR is a legitimate group. There's several groups through the United Nations that are obviously legitimate. So that just by going to howtoaid.net, you'll be able to find a resource. And feel free. It's going to come up on the donation page, but you're going to be within their site. Look around their site, vet them yourself. Make sure that what they're doing and how they're doing it is what you support, and throw money in. The way I look at it is we will not be able to match what the federal government has been giving. The well of the people in the United States probably is not going to match what can be given. However, we can give them hope. We can let them know that they are not alone, that there are people out there willing to stand with them and to help them. And even if it's $5, but it's 10 million people who give $5, it's $50 million. But more importantly, they see 10 million people willing to step up and help. It's not going to turn the tides of the battles. It's just going to help individual lives. And I think that's important. That said, the 3D printer shows up on Monday, so I'll have quite a learning curve to see what I can get to figure out how I'm going to design things. I think I'm probably going to use Blender as my design tool to design the parts. You can go into Blender and make them the size and the shape that you want them to be. So that's where I'm going to start. and I'll keep you guys appraised, and I'll talk to you all next week.